Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Week 2 is over, so I have a new meta report for you. We're looking at pie charts this week, and just charts in general. As these go on, hopefully they'll get a little bit more in-depth and just better for you guys to watch. So, looking at this, there's obviously a bit of a problem. Two leaders make up 30 of the top 104 decks this week. All these decks were top 8 decks, is what this is filtered for. There's 104 results, and 30 of them are 2 decks. And they're pilots, which a lot of people love complaining about. But I think it's interesting just because Luke before wasn't really bad to deal with. Like, Lando was doing fine. Obi, for some reason, like, I understand the Virgin's Temple of, ooh, I can Jedi Consular. But I think for the sake of consistency and for the fact that everyone's running Data Vault, all the Luke players are, and even the BOBA players are running Lake Country, just the 28 health force base will be better. That 3 health is going to help you, and you're not really worried about getting your force taken away against those matchups. And control is less prevalent, but I mean, it's being played, as we're going to see. So yeah, more sheets here. This is a lot of jarble on your screen. But basically, if you look at the top row here, this is Boba Fett, right? It's doing really well into everything except for Luke, Yularen, Velsartha, Darth Maul, which is basically a Talzin deck. So it's odd to see that. And then Piet. So... And even for that, so the Piet and the Maul, I think, is like a total of 6 matches. So it's not that bad. Like, when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, that's too small of a sample size to actually see anything. But if we look at the rest of this, we can see, okay, Luke's doing all right. A lot of 50% around here. Lando's actually doing pretty okay. But there's some really bad matchups. Especially the Tobias one, I think, is funny just because they can't punish it like the other decks can. Like, if Tobias doesn't get their combo off, Luke just wins because it's fast enough. Boba Fett's fast enough. Lando just doesn't really have a direct way to punish your credit token generation. But, I mean, Gorn exists, and a lot of Lando players are playing that main board, thankfully. Obi-Wan is underperforming with Virgin's Temple. Not a whole lot to say about that. But, I mean, if we look way down here, you've got Piet, Vigilance, and you notice there's 1 red square and 1 green square. But as I'm going to go through these deck lists, Piet's actually in there, and it performed really well. So, I mean, we're on week 2, so that we're going to see a lot of this. But right now, I feel like the only actual overperforming deck, as we're seeing, is Boba Fett. I feel like Luke is performing proportionately to how much it's being played. And Boba Fett, it is very popular, but it's also, I think, at the moment, less popular than Luke and doing better. Lando actually is not that popular just because of, I mean, the kind of deck that it is, and the fact that Liberty's $60, which is insane, but it's doing well. So why is Boba a problem? I put Planetary Bombardment on here, but the real thing here is Boba's indirect. The fact that it's not a separate action like the other 2 main leaders we're seeing at the top of the meta right now, which, I mean, it's week 2, we can't really say top of the meta, but you understand what I'm saying here. Luke and Lando, their action, their ability is separate. So Luke, you're going to swing with a unit, and then you're going to exhaust your leader, and you're going to do your ability. For Boba Fett, it's more action compression. So you're getting a free point of damage, and you're not losing anything here. Like, it's not costing you the initiative like it costs Luke. So you basically get the initiative, and that's always something Star Wars is a very action-intensive game. We don't have, like, a ton of super wide boards. Obviously, Vader players exist and whatnot, but action economy is a big thing to get you ahead in this game, and Boba kind of just does that. And then the other thing, of course, is topple. If you eat the indirect to your units, even if you don't, if you have 4 units on board, Boba's just going to flip, put a little bit of damage on each of them, and then topple, and half your board's gone. That's a lot to recover from, and he just did that in one action. There's always the option of Cinta, but it honestly is a much weaker option, obviously matchup dependent. But the fact that any aggro deck that goes up against Boba, especially Luke, where they've got lots of small ships, sure, Boba might lose a few units with their topple, but the unit he's going on to is definitely going to be okay. And Boba has that top end that Luke lacks. Luke, at least Data Vault, you get up to your Kit Fisto's Aether Sprite, and that's like one of your bigger units. Whereas Boba Fett, you have the Devastator, you have the finishing cards that Luke just doesn't get. So I'm gonna do basically every deck that performed pretty well that I found interesting that wasn't Boba Fett or Luke. Because, I mean, if you've seen Boba Fett, Luke, or Lando, you know how the deck works. Lando, you build it all Heroism, and you guess Heroism. There is a few Vigilance builds or Cunning builds, but they're less mainstream. Luke, Data Vault, I mean, you just play ships and do things. Boba Fett, you kind of have a pretty small selection of cards, but they're all good cards. Vader, what the hell? In a very Luke-heavy player space right now, Vader just placed second out of 109 players. Mad respect to Vader players. They love their leader. Yeah, there's a little bit less kind of removal or exhaust that they had before. Like, they had ways to bounce your units, exhaust them, kind of punish you for playing upgrades, or just trying to outrace them. But they got some replacements, like Garindin to screw your hand over, just for the Agnic players, and I mean any deck that's pretty predictable. Right now, like, the card pool is smaller, so it got easier to name cards, which is a big thing for him. Palpatine slows down the aggro decks. Beguiled exists if you're trying to stack up a unit. Even Bogged Down in Procedure, Lurking Snubs. These are all things, and then especially Screeching Tie. There goes Keywords. There goes Restore. Like, their units aren't as powerful as they used to be, but they're still pretty solid for what Vader is trying to do. So I think that just means Vader's, it's going to do fine. It didn't really get anything new this set, but it got things the last few sets, and it got one new ship that made it good enough where it's like, hey, you can still play Vader. Tobias, welcome to not quite a combo deck. I mean, the Tobias Eternal Lead, or Endless Legion, sorry, is more the combo deck here, but, I mean, you know what he's trying to do. Hands you a unit or two, kills it, especially a hauler, replays the thing, sure, gets 1 or 2 credit tokens, yippee, and then he's just going to be ahead. And then he's going to Agnag into you. That's pretty much it. He's got a Sudden Ferocity, still have a ton of resources to work with on his flip, and then probably Agnag. He's going to punish you for playing any good units. You know, he's got the I don't know how to say his name. He's got the Finn. A lot of unique units in the deck, so, I mean, still about half of it's not unique. And the units you're trying to give a shield to are, you know, not that special. 1 mainboarded Arvel Skeen for the Lando players, and I mean, just in case someone's taking your credits, you can kind of ruin their day with that. Commandeer for the ships. Lost and Forgotten for, you know, anything big. And then Mastery is an upgrade I still hate. I still just, like, I know it's a 3-cost 3/3, but it just feels bad to play a 3-cost 3/3 with no abilities. Nimble Prowess is a very strong upgrade, I feel. Ascension Cable, obviously, you're trying to punch them in the face really quick. Especially if you're giving them the 2-faced Trog, you know, you don't want to have to deal with Sentinels. Chewbacca Yellow. This deck's been getting a little bit more popular. This is kind of like the new aggro deck, right? Enfys has been trying to do it. Jin Red's been trying to do it. Velstarth has been trying to do it. They're all different aggro decks. Luke is more of a mid-range. I don't care what you people say here. It's a grindier mid-range. Well, less grindy, but getting close to aggro, but it's mid-range. This, on the other hand, I mean, you're playing Kazuda. you're going to defeat your resource, you're going to play Kazuda, and you're going to hit him in the face for 6. That's tough. Chewbacca just, as a whole, pretty good stat line for a 4-flip. And then you Agneg. You're not really playing 1-drop, so your hand's going to be a decent size. Obviously, as you get to later turns, it gets worse. And then they hit that ship for, a turn 1 B-Wing Skirmisher is not bad, but it is 2 cards out of hand. So, kind of pay attention to that. Lots of pump cards in here. Agneg, Commence the Festivities, and then Hotshot Maneuver isn't really a pump, but it is a utility card, and it works pretty good. It's pretty standard. Your only pilots are Han Solo and R2. R2 I've never loved just because it's a card out of hand for a 1/1, but it makes sense if you're playing 3 off of the Clown Car Falcon, which this guy is. Blue Ace, just for, space heavy meta. And honestly, this deck is somewhat similar to Enfi's lists. Obviously, a few key differences here, but decent amount of on-attack abilities and pump, and it's red-yellow. Jin. Whoever would have thought we saw this coming? Guess what they're going to do? They have 3 off of Agneg, and half their deck draws cards. I know you're never going to guess it, guys. But they're gonna draw cards. They're playing Ray, too. That's how much they're drawing, is they have faith. Unlike the Yoda Red players, they don't even get to put it on the top of their deck. They're just like, you know what, I'm going to draw Ray. And if you draw it during your regroup phase, that's just unfortunate. Cinta, comboed with Nimble Prowess, or, really, Nimble Prowess is the only upgrade in here. Cinta with Nimble Prowess is good. And realistically, a 3-cost 3/5 is never a bad thing, even if she doesn't have Sentinel. Charged with Treason with the amount of red in this deck makes sense. 5 damage to unit, huge for a 4-cost. It's your new Open Fire. Masterpiece is slower, but 1 ping and heal 2 from a base helps you race a lot in the ground matchups. And then even for space decks, it's a must kill for them. And then it gets your Jin trigger because they killed your Rebel. Other than that, not a whole lot of surprising things in here. Everything's kind of expected. But I like blue-red heroism, so it's a fun deck to look at. And of course, 4th out of 76 players. Deidre. Control is alive. I've heard many people say the format is too fast. Control can't keep up. This isn't like a small PQ. This is 99 people. And Deidre came second. You're never going to guess what it lost to. But Deidre came second. Honestly, the surprising thing about this is 3 off of Condemn. And someone's actually playing Persecutor. But other than that, this is, hey, you've got your control cards. They're going to play a unit. You're going to try and ping it or draw a card. And then, turn 2, if you didn't ping it, you're just going to crushing blow it. And then the turn after that, you're going to Tree Remembers. Or you're going to Condemn. Or you're going to Piercing Shot. You can hold for questioning to delay things. And then eventually you're going to play an Annihilator. Or a Lawbringer. Or a single reactor ignition. And you're doing pretty good. It's hard for decks to recover. Their only way to go wide right now really is Kelleran. There is no more Ewing reinforcement. There's still a lot of card draw for decks to play multiple cards in a turn, but they don't get that, that action compression. And you've got a full board wipe, a space wipe, and then defeat each unit that isn't upgraded in a deck that's going to try and ping off your shields, and then they're running 3 off of Constables. Display Piece is one of those cards where you don't want to play it before 6 resources, but after that it kind of doesn't really hurt you. And then I was surprised to see no real way to heal your base in this deck. They are just winning or losing. That's your 2 options. That's really always your 2 options, but your win condition is single reactor into planetary after your opponent has no resources, or just play an Annihilator, and if they don't have answers, you win. But yeah, no Lando, no even Hana for the Restore 2. You've got Lost and Forgotten. That's your heal. That's it. And sometimes that's all you need. So yeah, Control is alive. Still kind of in the control field here. Talzin, more of a mid-range deck, but I mean, when you put, you know, when you really get down to it, Talzin is playing removal. Which, I mean, every deck has a little bit of removal. Talzin playing a bit more. You've got the Shy Invader combo, you've got Shatterpoint, you've got one Hyperspace Disaster mainboard, which is kind of surprising. Tree Remembers in this meta makes sense. Constructed Lightsaber is awful to deal with as soon as they put it on a Shin. I learned that the hard way with Akbar. Yeah, it has the ability to push damage just with Constructed Lightsabers and the Sun, and it's like got pretty high power units. It can restore a little bit with Owen just for free, is chilling in there. Well, one resource, but that feels like free. EMP, they're pretty teched for the pilot heavy meta, which makes sense. And yeah, Talzin can push damage if it needs to. It hurts. And this is first out of 62 players. More kind of not control, but I mean, yeah. No Annihilator, so they're not playing control, but it's like, Piet's gonna punish you. It's like, it's a mid-range list. I almost wanted to call it an aggro list, because it's like, okay, Piet's goal is put out unit, punch base. But they're doing more than that. They're more mid-range. They have the ability to go long game, and you really don't want to go long game against a deck that's running Turbo Laser Salvo with this many big ships. It's gonna hurt. Qui-Gon Jinn. A deck that I never thought I would see win just because it lacks consistency. I love Qui-Gon Jinn, don't get me wrong. It's just hard to combo. I mean, it's not a combo deck, but you got to get the play lines, right? You're picking up a unit, you're playing a smaller unit, you're swinging, you're doing a whole lot at once. Only one off of Protect the Pod. It's like my favorite card right now. I love playing that thing in Akbar. Yeah. It's green, yellow heroism. Like, every card in here you kind of expect. Their turn ones all make sense. Consular with the Jedi Temple. I don't love Consular. Like, in Virgin's Temple it obviously makes sense, but aside from that, you're kind of playing it later to cheat out things like Qui-Gon or Liberty sooner. Can't cheat out Yoda sooner, really, with it, because you need the Force for Yoda's thing. But also, you get a lot of Yoda triggers in this deck, so maybe you don't need it right away. Maybe you get it the next turn. Slimemoor, a deck I never thought I'd see do anything. Second out of 39 players, a bit of a smaller PQ, but it won. Well, not won, but it won enough to get to second place. Like, that's pretty cool. I don't have a whole lot to say about this deck. I mean, obviously, you can tell what they're trying to do here. They're playing units. They're creating tokens. They're going to punch you in the face with said tokens. Awesome. I Am the Senate, by the way. That's a card that I never thought would ever see play even in Slimemoor. And yet, here we are. And then, so, now that we're done with that, what does this mean? So, obviously, control, looking back to this, there's one control deck in here, lots of mid-range, not a whole lot of aggro. So, the game overall may have gotten faster, but control is still at least there. Control players will always try. There was an aura that placed like 4th on this that I didn't put in this list here. But like, control players will always try. There are control players in every TCG. They're always going to try, and they're going to make it work. They have to print cards for control. They print cards for every deck archetype. It'll work to a degree, always. It might be in a worse spot now than it was before, but it'll come back. People will figure out the meta, especially early on in a meta. It's hard to build control because you have to tech for things. Like right now, we're teching heavily for space. Well, slowly pilots are going to go away, and control players are going to have to adapt to that, which might take them a week or two extra. What else is there? There's Vader is still being played into a Luke heavy meta, which I was surprised about that. And then Agneg decks are not that big. In here, I showed 2 decks that are actually using Agneg to its fullest. You've got Tobias. Chewie has Agneg, but it's really just a new surprise strike for them. They're not drawing a ton for it. And then Jin, I mean, your entire plan is to represent a ton of damage with only having 1 unit on board and having 1 million cards in hand. If they can't remove that unit, you're going to punish them severely for it. Aside from that, yeah, Boba Fett's a little bit rough to deal with. I think the roughest part about that is just the fact that they can clear your board so easily on a flip, and they get so much free damage that doesn't cost them an action. Eternal. Eternal happened. Yeah, it was a thing. I don't even have a whole lot to say about this. Like, everyone knew Django was going to be played heavily, right? We all went, okay, everyone's going to play Django. You know, Triple Dark Raid, Django. You've got more ships to do damage to units. Triple Dark Raid into Devastator, or that ship that pings or the vehicle that pings everything, makes sense. Gar Saxon, the deck that was not built to counter Django, but, you know, people thought it was the Django counter, didn't beat it in the top 8. It beat a few Djangos. Obviously, the one Gar Saxon made 3rd, and the other one made 2nd, but they didn't win. Bossic Blue control deck did something. Ray Data Vault tried to counter the Django a little bit there. I mean, you're kind of just restore spamming. And it worked to a degree, but I mean, seeing this much Django does hurt. Other than that, better enter a new week. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video, which should be a deck guide.